March 27th, 2023 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Blankley is excused. Mr. Florio is present. Mr. Hebert is present. Ms. Hugh Smith is present. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Mafucci
Here.
Mr. Mafucci is present. Chairman McCabe
Present.
is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There's not.
Is there anyone present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. You have the February 27th, 2023 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Next item on the agenda is new business.
Referral 23-0073, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for climate smart communities for the organics management plan.
Moved by legislator John, second by legislator Hebert. Any questions? Legislator DeFlorio.
Through the chair, can we get a breakdown of the scope of this study?
Through the chair, the scope of the study is to evaluate the opportunities in Monroe County for organics waste management and develop a comprehensive strategy on managing organic waste in our community. And the source of that organic waste, which will be evaluated as part of this study, includes residential waste, organic waste, could be food or yard waste. There's agricultural waste like manure and animal carcasses, industrial waste like biosolids, food processing and leaves from municipalities, as well as organic food waste from commercial outlets and institutions like universities and school districts. We know there is state regulation in place now that's governing and requiring certain entities that generate a certain quantity of organic food waste to process it appropriately. So really, essentially, the study will characterize what quantity do we have here in our community, what type of organic waste do we have here in the community, and what are the opportunities to best manage that organic waste and harness its potential. We want to look at the environmental benefits, but also the potential economic benefits. The study will look at what mechanisms are best suited and positioned to be able to manage that waste, whether it's through public-private partnerships, whether it's a government operation or just strictly a commercial private operation itself.
And as a follow-up to that, will the study include any cost to implement any of the conclusions, I guess, that they come up with as a result of the study?
Through the chair, yes, very conceptual costs that will evaluate opportunities within the community.
And through the chair, will acceptance of this grant and the study itself obligate the county to implement any of the recommendations of the study?
Through the chair, no, it will not.
And then I guess one more question, because you talked about economic benefits, and my one concern is through the chair, will it also look at, I guess, when I say cost or the negative? So I feel like sometimes we tend to focus on the positive benefits, but there's also at a lot of times a cost to the business or a cost to the university or to the homeowner for implementing something of this nature. So are we looking at those as well? Those, I guess, hidden costs, not necessarily dollars and cents.
Yes, through the chair, it would evaluate really the pros and cons with all the alternatives in managing that waste, whether it's for the commercial entity, the resident, whomever. We'll also look at reduction as well. You know, the 3 R's in recycle, reduce, reuse, and recycle. We want to also, through a public education campaign, encourage folks to use less and consume less. And then find opportunities for food donation, like through Food Link and things like in outlets like that.
Thank you.
Legislator Johns.
Yeah, through the chair to the administration, just one question. it's about compliance. You know, I can see where schools and large institutions, we know what they're bringing in and the waste that's going out, but just like with plastic recycling and other stuff, when the big garbage companies come through, who knows what's hidden in the toter? How do you envision, or do you know of other places in the country, how they've implemented this to make sure that, you know, you get a little bit more compliance than you otherwise might get?
Through the chair, presently, the requirements for food waste management is through the New York State Food Donation and Food Scraps Recycling Law. And so that's a state obligation to require those entities that generate certain quantities to manage it accordingly. That's really a state enforcement action. We're not proposing anything yet, at least in the study, that would obligate county residents to recycle food waste. It will provide options for the county to consider, and what enforcement challenges there might be with those opportunities that might exist.
Right, yeah, well, through the chair of the administration, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, if you know, you're watching a football game and the chicken wings go in the trash, are you gonna be fined? You know, it might be an unpleasant Sunday afternoon, you know?
Yeah, through the chair, communities that have regulated residential food waste composting or food waste collection services that are a requirement, the enforcement's a very difficult and challenging thing, where they're going out household by household and ensuring that they're properly managing that waste stream.
Thank you.
Mr. Hebert. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration. The basic solution here, we're likely talking about composting, or is there something beyond that that's under consideration?
Through the chair, that's a good question. There are a number of technologies that are implemented for organic waste management. Composting is one of them, as you've mentioned. Anaerobic digestion is another. There are companies primarily in Europe that rely heavily on anaerobic digestion for food waste and can generate, gases necessary to produce electricity and can derive a profit from it. So this study will look at various technologies that exist.
Are there any potential benefits through you, Mr. Chairman, the administration? Are there any potential benefits beyond the electricity generation that we just alluded to? Somewhat popular and very.
Through the chair, through a composting process, they can generate a very high quality compostable material that can be a soil amendment or suitable for residents to use in their gardens or what have you.
Legislator DeFlorio, through you, Mr. Chairman of the administration, I'm concerned that the benefits will be looked at costs. State regulation requires any facility create tons of material a week. 2 tons a week to transport to a composting facility if it's within 25 miles. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct. Donate or recycle.
Right. So how can we be assured, through the chair of the administration, how can we be assured that all of those types of costs that are imposed upon the companies, or that may be imposed upon others, because you mentioned a very broad scope for this study, are actually included? Will there be a specific section? I mean, for example, somebody throws away chicken wings on a Sunday and drives 20 miles each way to deliver them to the composting facility. I doubt there's going to be much environmental benefit there. Gut feel, but I could be wrong, but address that at all?
Through the chair, where I see opportunity is through public-private partnerships, like we've been successful in our other solid waste and recycling programs, where the county is able to derive revenue. The company holds the risk. And the reason I say that is I expect the study will focus on those opportunities where there will be a benefit for the county, But it will require probably more thorough analysis that may be beyond the scope of this initial study. We will look at conceptual costs. We'll look for opportunities. We'll hone in on those that will likely require some further evaluation. But for a company to come in and make an investment grade business decision to say start up a company, definitely will require thorough analysis in terms of all the costs that you're talking about.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the administration, thank you for the answer, and information being given to the entities that are going to be. Let me start with a statement. In my experience, we tend to mandate more things, not necessarily look at very costs. For example, the chicken wings thing could conceivably be mandated. $100,000 doesn't seem like much to pay for a study that's as thorough as the one you described. How did we reach that?
Hubert, can you speak into the mic? I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do I need to
Too many
repeat?
years of driving fire trucks. I can't hear.
Yeah, I can be heard, believe me. If I put on my bridge voice, they'll hear me next door.
Through the chair, I think, again, what will be important in this study is to initially identify what are the opportunities? What is a quantity? What type of material do we have? They'll likely require waste audits. We're gonna have to roll up our sleeves, get dirty and understand what is in our waste stream. And then evaluate the opportunities from there. We know and believe there will be opportunities, whether it's for that initial level of 2 tons per week. We expect that to grow, perhaps through state regulation, but what's important is to understand what we have and what we're working with and what the opportunities are. It might require further analysis to really hone in on what the preferred alternatives are so that we understand all of the risks associated with whatever opportunities there may be and costs associated with those, and potentially costs for our community. But where I see this as an opportunity, and I think it was a prudent step forward, is for the county to take the lead, to get our arms around what are our opportunities and what exists here in our community.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, of the administration, one of my concerns is always the impact on the people who can least afford these things. And we don't, as a government, all levels, we don't always take that into account. Is there anything in the study, is there a draft of this study already in existence? And if so, can I get a copy? And if so, does it include anything about what I just talked about, you know, the impact on people who can least afford it?
Through the chair, no, the plan has not been developed yet. We expect to start the plan in April and hope to have it completed by fourth quarter of next year. Environmental justice is a key component of our climate action plan. It'll be a key component of this plan. This plan is also being developed as part of a strategy that was identified in the county's local solid waste management plan as well, too, a number of years ago, knowing that organics are a resource that can be recovered for economic and environmental benefit.
Okay, last question through you, Mr. Chairman of the administration. I just want to verify because the language had me a little confused. There's a $50,000 state component, and then it talks about $100,000 from the county. Is this a $100K project or is it a $150K project?
Through the chair, $100,000 project.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Clear, Flora?
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, one follow-up question. So you mentioned the 2 tons per week generated of organic waste. Just for my conceptualization, what types of businesses, you don't have to give all of them, but a few examples within, say, a 10-mile radius would be impacted if there was a facility right here type of thing?
Through the chair, there are about 65 designated facilities in the county. They range from colleges, restaurants, grocery stores, hospitality entities, malls, food wholesale and distribution facilities are the general categories that those 65 entities are within, again, identified by the state of New York.
So through the chair to the administration, hospitals, medical facilities, any inpatient nursing homes? I mean, would all of those potentially be impacted as well?
The chair, hospitals are exempt.
What about nursing homes or other?
Chair, nursing homes are exempt as well, too.
Thank you. I yield.
Let's hear Hugh Smith.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Given that all of these entities, residents, commercials, industries, are already disposing of this waste and there's a cost to us disposing our waste, will this study create some kind of cost comparison?
Through the chair, you raise a good point associated with cost avoidance. There is a cost with managing this waste, tipping fees and whatnot. That would have to be looked at to do a holistic look at what cost an entity could occur if there's cost savings without that going to the landfill. So yes, it will.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. I would think that the cost to manage the organic waste will depend largely upon the approach, the end approach that's decided upon, right? Biogas or composting or so forth. You anticipate that this study will somehow have general costs for those different approaches laid out?
Through the chair, there will be conceptual costs identified.
Garland, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Do you anticipate managing or developing this plan internally with DS staff, or are we anticipating an RFP contract?
Through the chair, DES staff will lead that. I'm here with Deputy Director Clem Chung and our solid waste administrator, Yasmin Guevara. Will be leading the study and we'll be relying on Barton and LaJudas, who is our solid waste term consultant. And they will be, they're currently under contract and will be under contract next year as well too, through their term service agreement.
Garland, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, would you anticipate speaking with other experts in this field that we already have here locally, like P2I, Sweetwater Energy, SUNY Brockport?
Through the chair, yes, we certainly will. We'll engage with the city of Rochester, who is also embarking on an organics management plan, but P2I, the Recycling Advisory Committee, the Climate Action Plan Advisory Committee as well too. We will seek their professional input in that regard.
Garland, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, would you anticipate an analysis of best practices from communities across the country that are already managing organic waste, such as Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, New York City?
Through the chair, yes, we would. And I would also like to add too that K through 12 schools are exempt as well.
And just for clarification as well, Mr. Garland, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, it's my understanding of the food scraps recycling law that New York State passed is that any of the entities can apply for a variance or a waiver, should they? Your understanding as well?
Through the chair, yes, that is our understanding. They can apply for a one-year waiver.
And my final question through you, Mr. Chair, is, currently recycling is required in this state. Do we have police that go around checking our trash, looking for our non-compliance with our recycle law?
No, we haven't employed a recycling superhero, although we would like to. I pretend to be one sometimes. But no, we don't have recycling police. However, we do respond to any residents' concerns that may be reported to us. We've had to engage the sheriff's office to do investigations associated with reports of unscrupulous haulers who may be, not managing the recycling properly. But we are responsive. We aren't set up though to do that. But the good news is I think we've had a lot of compliance with our residents here in our community through our public education outreach program.
Thank you. And I actually still have two questions. You, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Given that response, would you not anticipate that we would have a similar situation with organics? That we would not compliance, but rather depending upon education and participation as value and importance.
My expectation that if there were ever a program that required an additional waste stream to be managed by the resident, that we would rely on the environmental stewardship of our community, which has been in place for over 30 years with recycling. And my guess we would have a high degree of compliance through education and outreach.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, I know recycling, the public-private partnership has been a source of jobs, employment, economic growth. Will this study look at those opportunities and projections for similar economic growth related to organic management?
Through the chair, I would expect, particularly when we evaluate public-private partnerships, that it'll identify again the benefits to a program like that for the community, not just say the economic bottom line, but job creation, construction jobs, things of that nature. That again, we want to look at both sides of the equation for whatever alternative that we're evaluating.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, you indicated that this would include organic waste from agriculture. Would you expect that to be restricted to just plant or vegetative materials or also manure?
Through the chair, I think the focus would be on manure, which is something that has a tremendous amount of energy potential and is a source for a number of anaerobic digestion facilities in the country that generate gas for energy production or for fuel. And so I would, this study will identify what that potential is here within our community.
That's great to hear. And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, would then your analysis include, if we're having better management of manure waste, the cost avoidance of the pollution to groundwater and water supplies from?
Through the chair, I would expect the study may not be able to quantify the cost benefit associated with that, but certainly would identify the qualitative benefit of reducing any type of non-point source pollution.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0075, authorization to enter into a grant agreement with New York State for aid relating to 4 projects at the Frederick Douglass Greater Rochester International Airport.
By Legislator Johns. Seconded by Legislator Hebert. Is there any discussion on this item? Legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through to the administration. In the referral, it says that there's a requirement for a formal resolution. Is that a new requirement or has that been there for a while?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's been there for a while.
Thank you. Then through you, Mr. Chairman, the administration, can you explain why the two projects that are already complete, if I read the referral correctly, there are two projects already complete, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that is correct.
Last question through you, Mr. Chairman. To the administration, why wasn't this brought to the legislature before the projects are complete?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the funding wasn't available at the time.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, a follow-up, but can you just explain further what you mean by what you just said?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. As far as projects go, this is one that was scoped out with the agencies that we have. And as far as the funding on this project, it was one where not that we needed to catch up with this, but it was just available at the time of the funding. So-
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't understand that response at all. Could you clarify further, please?
Sure.
Through the chair, the finance person at the airport, when projects are done, if there isn't the proper grant funding available, she'll fund it through something else. They have other sources of income, but we still try to apply for these grants. And if we get them, we can use them to fund a project, whether done or not. And we don't have to use other money like, and I'm not even sure this would apply, but passenger fee charges we use to fund certain things. The authority has money in addition, but whenever we can use somebody else's money for a project, we grab it.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, just let me put this in Hebert language. Federal share and the state shares were not there, so this was being funded by the airport. As the project completed, you got those monies, and therefore the projects are now done, and now you're bringing them to us.
Through the chair, that's correct. So it's the funding source, not the project that has to come to you.
I'm going to follow up with legislator Hubert's question. So that funding that we're now getting back will go to the appropriate budget code at the airport that they used to fund the project originally?
Through the chair, that's correct. I'm sorry, sometimes I get a little confused on the budget coding, but yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before the committee this evening? Seeing none, there are no other matters before the March 27th, 2023 meeting of the Environment Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Environment Public Works Committee is scheduled for Monday, April 24th, 2023 at 5:15 PM.